Hello, I'm Jürgen Reuswig and I'm the studio director of Claymore Game Studios. Claymore Game Studios was founded by Calypso Media to develop new games for the Commandos franchise. And this is why we wanted to have a reference in our logo and our name to the Commandos. Regarding the name, Claymore is a Scottish two-handed sword, which was also used as the name for the first ever Commandos mission called Operation Claymore. When the first Commandos game was released back in 1998, called Behind Enemy Lines, it was a revolution in the genre of strategy games. Until then, games were all based on the principle of harvest, build, destroy, meaning you have to harvest the resources to build up an army and an infrastructure and then attack your opponent and win against them. Commandos took a total different approach. They gave you only a handful of experts, real commandos with special abilities, 6 different characters in the first installment of the game, and your goal was to use them wisely to achieve your goals. And if one of these commandos would have died, the game was over. So you really had to approach this on a very tactical level. When we were starting to design our Commandos origins, it became clear very fast that we want to tell the story from the very beginning. So we are letting the player experience how the 6 commandos that we know from the first game came together and finally grew together as the band of brothers we know from the old games.
When I was a child, I grabbed one of the first magazines that I read about computer games, and the Green Beret was on the main page, and yeah, that left an impression.
It was a game that I really enjoyed. It combined stealth tactics as well as real-time strategy in a very effective way back then, which was quite groundbreaking.
I don't actually remember if I was able to finish it, to be honest. I remember it was incredibly hard and frustrating, but it was kind of a love-hate relationship, definitely.
I really played Behind Enemy Lines when it was released, and yeah, I basically experienced this revolution of the strategy genre firsthand at the time.
So we've got a pretty wide cast of characters in Commandos Origins. 2 I want to highlight are the Marine and the Sniper. With the Marine, he's our aquatic character. He varies the other commandos across open water, very cold water too. He's a very versatile character with his harpoon and his throwing knives. With the Sniper, he's got a pretty powerful sniper rifle. He adapted it to work as well as it could behind enemy lines. It's able to punch through certain objects and through multiple enemies. It's a pretty exciting weapon to use.
So the tactical role of one of my favorite commando is the Sapper. In Commandos Origins, he takes the role of forcing the commandos all together, by founding the team of the commandos. And yeah, it's not exactly the tactical role within the game, but in the story it's of course important.
Personally, like the Marine the most, as he has all of these nice features and abilities, like having a harpoon to shoot enemies silently, which is contributing to all the stealth part of the game. And also he's the one who can swim and dive, which opens up so many more possibilities basically for the players. So that's really nice. In my opinion, he's the one that can be used the most strategically in the whole game. And his benefit is just that he can get around maps, for example, and dive so nobody sees him, and that's very unique, and I like that about him.
I think I like the driver because he has the ability to drive like heavy vehicles, and it's always fun to like have a break in the game. It's almost like starting a completely different game. You suddenly are in a car and like the controls change a bit, and you have like a different view on the game. It's not just nice to drive around with him. and he also has like a huge gun. So I guess that's fine.
I mean, the Green Beret is probably my favorite. I mean, it's the biggest one, and he's pretty mean, and yeah, he's pretty capable, I would say.
With a game like Commandos Origins, it's very easy to talk about complete freedom of choice, but really what makes a challenge is having those restrictions. So in our levels, we're making sure that every commando has a role to fill and has a purpose for being there.
They have different abilities that can like affect the game world in some way. So if there's like a closed door, you need the Green Beret to kick it in. So sometimes there are scenarios where you will have to use the Green Beret to like open a path that was closed before, or like use the zapper to blow something up that is in the way or like is needed for an objective. So you will need to use all the commandos in like cooperation to achieve the goals.
We've recently brought new mechanics into the game after we received feedback from the IFA. There is one that I really like is with the sniper's rifle you can now shoot 2 enemies at once if you are skilled enough and line them up correctly, which I really like, and it feels very satisfying. What I really like is combining our commandos to use their abilities the best, and for example using the sound decoy of the Green Beret and the Sapper's bear trap to lure enemies into their death.
For players who are returning to the Commandos franchise, I want them to feel at home. I want them to feel like they're coming back after a long trip away. For new players, I want them to feel intrigued. I want them to feel like they are stepping into a fun new world.
What we would definitely want the players to feel is nostalgia from the previous games. This is, of course, for the players who have played some of the older games, but for the newer players, it's about bringing them into the fold of Commandos, introducing them to the series, and that's one of the reasons we are building a prequel and not a sequel.
Get a good introduction to the Commandos team and be there when the Commandos gets formed by the Sapper.
Like in any good tactics game, planning ahead is key. In Commandos Origins, we have command mode. This allows you to set up your commandos in specific orders to allow you to create more complex maneuvers to solve our more vexing encounters. But it all comes down to how you plan, how you think. It is a real-time tactics game. The special thing about Commandos Origins is that you don't have to plan or play alone. We're introducing online and local co-op split-screen multiplayer in Commandos Origins.
Here we are. Here we are.
We hope you liked our first impressions of the multiplayer mode of Commandos Origins, so stay tuned